Thank you for staying with us on World Now. We're still having the conversation about former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, who has been released from jail from a 5-year sentence, having spent just 3 weeks in jail. We're talking about how this, really impacts on France's judicial system. We're still having this conversation with global affairs analyst Ejike Okwa. Mr. Ejike, thank you for staying with us. Right before the break, I was talking about our critics saying that Sarkozy's legal battles, reflect a wider trend of politicized prosecutions in France. Do you think that the judiciary itself is acting independently here?
It's always harder to tell, to say, well, who's acting independently and who's been influenced. I think it's when the evidence, since we're in court or since he's in court, let the evidence say otherwise. If the evidence were to be reintroduced or introduced, because he never introduced that, if introduced and he proves that, then he can now say, hey, this is a politicized judicial system. It was a political thing. They came after me because they were afraid I was going to win, or whatever the case may be. You never know. There's a witch hunting thing that goes on in politics, whether in a developed country or one that is developing. It's a human factor. Politics is a human factor, and some people, for whatever reason, may just want to undermine you and weaken you or wound you. This is a scar. At the end of the day, if they have inflicted a scar on you, and then you're going to be the one, that's going to bear it, until, you move on. But then, scholars of history and justice will start writing books and theories about it. Because from the time human beings found themselves and, you can't play politics with yourself. That's got to be more than you. Even from our family settings to village to country, you have to see that, But what has happened now, we come up with laws and rules to make it at least be, impartial. But you remember, human beings are the ones who are, practicing this stuff, and they're going to find a way to put, throw you a curveball, and then you start scrambling. But, what I always say, if don't do it, if you do it, own up to it, or take the heat. Take the heat. If you go back to the Nigerian situation, you ask yourself, of all the presidents that have actually inflicted more damage on Nigeria, how come nobody's ever gone to jail? And then even look at even the legal practice and how many Nigerian lawyers have been suspended for practices that are considered unethical, or how many real estate people, or how many bankers in Nigeria. So, these things should be something that Nigerians or Africans look around and say, we have to do better. How come even when some of the former African people take money from the system, they run to this country and they live happily ever after? Come on, chase them, pursue them. Even if you can make an example with one person, maybe that will send a message. Just like what was that other guy Nigeria wanted to kidnap and bring him into Nigeria, and that attempt was foiled. But you cannot fold your hands. Nation building is not when you succeed you fold your hands. It's ongoing, because
it's an ongoing process, ensuring accountability on all sides, ensuring that those in power are held accountable. That's a step that, Africa is taking. But that's a fine place to leave the conversation. We're hoping that if, not guilty, Sarkozy is able to, rehabilitate his public image, even as one of France's conservative leaders. Mr. Ejike, thank you for joining us at this time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Away from that, outgoing BBC Director General Tim Davis says